beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It's a beautiful day, and we finally have a foot of snow out there in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border in the crown of Maine. And I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are as well. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I have just had a crazy day. It's one of those days that it's a Murphy's Law day. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anything that's supposed to be easy will frustrate the heck out of you. It's just what happened today. I got up this morning, and we've been extreme farming for a few days, and I have a bunch of tiny little chores on a little list to go out to the barn to do today because the weather is kind of nice. I figured I'd get out there snowshoeing at some point. It never happened. I went out to the barn after my cup of coffee this morning, and no matter what I did, I was getting in my own way. I was making the situations worse. I was just spinning my wheels. So I decided I'm going to go in. My main chores are done. I'm going to go in. I'm going to sit by the fire. I'm going to have a second cup of coffee because maybe I'm lacking caffeine. Turns out I wasn't lacking caffeine because I did 4 other things half-assed backwards. So it was just a day. I decided after my 4 other things I goofed up in the house that I would just sit down and call my mom. I like to talk to my mom once a week. She lives in southern New England. We live in northern New England. It's extreme polar opposites of New England that we live in. She watched our storm. We watched her storm. We text each other throughout the storm. She knows how hard it is on the homestead when the weather is really, really rough. So we text, we keep in touch, let her know everything's fine. We're all warm. We're all safe. We're all happy. We're doing this. We're doing that. And same thing, vice versa. She does the same thing for us down there. Then I call her once a week because she likes to hear my voice. And because moms catch things on the phone. And she's like, I love that, you text me all the time, but I do like to hear your voice once a week. Catch up time. That's when you get caught, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter that I'm 53 years old. If I tell my mother anything that is not the truth, just a little, just make up the little fib to ease her mind for a minute, I get caught. The biggest fib I told my mom this week was, no, I'm not tired. First thing when she picked up the phone, first thing she says to me, Kerri-Lynn, you sound very tired. Thought you weren't that tired. See, I'm an aging child. I'm in the aging category. Our parents are aging, and they live in southern New England. So when you have a farm, when you have a homestead, you need to get people who know how to take care of your livestock. And we can't always get that. So either he's going home, my husband's going home, or I'm going home. We go on separate vacations home to visit everybody, but we never go together. Our kids live a couple towns away, and they have kids of their own, so it's not like they can come 2-3 times a day to check on the animals and, make sure everything is fine. Open the barn, shut the barn, make sure nothing happens. It doesn't work like that. So if you don't have someone in the area that is relatively close to where your homestead is that knows a thing or two about taking care of animals, you just don't get away like normal people. So we have the farmer life, and our parents totally understand that. My husband's parents, they were farmers for a long time. They were they raised pigs in Minnesota, and they did produce here in Maine when he was younger, and so they know how it goes. So everybody knows how we're stuck in the family. But today I don't know, I just couldn't get out of my own way. I was really excited because I really did want to go snowshoeing, but maybe that's a thing for tomorrow. Anyways, such is life. You have the best laid plans, and then they all fall apart, and you got to pivot and turn. And that's kind of where we are going to be in the discussion today. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, there's things I can say on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music, and there's things that I cannot say on these platforms. We save all that for Rumble. However, we need to be an informed community of people here. And I know if you are a part of any of my platforms that I am on, if you are on my channel on any of the platforms, you are a very informed person. You are a very smart person. You see what's going on in the world. You have a brain. You think for yourself. You think out of the box. You are very creative. You can come up with solutions to problems. That is a special superpower, ladies and gentlemen, that not many people have these days. People like to sit around and get told what to do because that's what they're learning from an early age. We'll tell you what to do. We'll tell you what to think. Now, I'm not trying to be a smarty pants about anything YouTube or any of the other platforms that I am broadcasting to right now. It's just a fact of life. The kids are going to school and they are being told how to think, how to feel, who they are. For those of you who are blind listeners and on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music, I am making a lot of faces right now. So you know where I stand on a lot of things because I am making the face. It's absolutely crazy that people do not think for themselves. Therefore, they cannot pivot and turn. And that was a big problem a few years back. Remember a few years back? Let's take a stroll down memory lane to like 2020. And all the crazy things that happened. Standing in line to get into a grocery store. Perhaps you have a memory of that. Things not being there when you got in the grocery store. Maybe you have a memory of that. I'd like to hear it. Drop it in the comment. What was your experience? We had experiences up here on the Canadian border where store owners in Maine, grocery store owners, were telling Canadians to go back over the border and get their stuff because they were not shopping in the U.S. stores. It was rough. It was brutal. There was a lot of different things that happened. And every single human being that has a conscious memory of just a few years ago has been affected by that deeply. We have all been affected by it. It is a common experience that we have all had, and it has affected everybody. And if somebody tells you that they were not affected by the nonsense that we were put through a few years back, they're lying. They're lying, they're liars, and that's that. Everybody was affected. We were affected. I was affected. I do things differently now because of what happened then. Things I never in my life dreamed would happen in my lifetime. I do things socially differently now. I do things in my professional life differently. I do things in my personal life differently because of that. And so does my husband, and so does my children, and their children. Everybody's been affected by this, and we all have some kind of crazy quirk because of it, and we have trained ourselves to do things slightly differently because of it, because we don't want to end up in the same situation that we were in 2020. And as things subsequently went on. So, yeah, it was rough. It was rough. And one of the things that we learned early on is that when something major happens on a global scale, the thing that you want to do is be self-reliant. And that starts with your 5-can challenge, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm hopping on this, but that's because I want to talk about disease X, DX as we're going to call it, because I don't want to piss people off. Again, I'm going to make a face for the blind viewers. Our trading partner, China. I know you guys know what's going on in the world, but in case you missed it, it's all over the place. But in case you missed it, I'm going to give you the cliff notes on the thing that I think is quite important. And that although the YouTube channels are just starting to pick up talking about it, there's been a lot of censure on it. So we have to be careful how we do things. It's a level 2 biolab, and I want you to Google all this because you are thinking people, and you can read and you can discern information, and you can use your brain to think about how to prepare yourself for maybe a rerun of things we've already been through. If you haven't learned your lesson then, maybe now you have the capability of learning the lesson at this point. Not everybody has pantries. I get it. Not everybody feels that they have a need. We feel we have a need living in the north because we have weather, we have cars that break, we have unexpected unemployment in life. This is just life things. And some people feel that they need to safeguard their life from that. And other people feel that things will happen magically and they'll get out of the situation. And what ends up happening to those people is they sink deeper and deeper and deeper into a bad situation to a point where they can't turn themselves around on their own. They need to get help to do that. So we don't want to be these people. And I want to talk about DX. So what happened was, Google it, ladies and gentlemen. DX was discovered in 2017. It is a form of SARS, and it was discovered in the lab with our trading partner China in 2017. It's in a level 2 biolab right now. You might want to look that up and find out what the heck a level 2 biolab is and how scared you should be at this point. So it is in a level 2 biolab, and they took some lab mices and they gave them human receptors. Then they took DX and they gave it to the lab mices with the human receptors in it. And what ended up happening is about day 8, there were no more mices. 100% of them did not exist anymore because their brain was shut down because of DX. So ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, we all know what that means. If something escapes a level 2 biolab anywhere in the world, if it's this DX, it's going to be a big problem, and there's really only going to be one way to solve it, and that is to literally be self-reliant. Because when something like this that shuts the brain off, you know what I'm saying, gets out into the real world, you are not going to want to go anywhere. You are not going to want to have to need anything. You are going to want to have everything at your disposal within the own parameters of your own space. You are just not going to want to go out into the real world. So I think that the 5-can challenge is a great thing, and that you really should keep up with it, keep doing it, push on, persevere through it, because you don't want to be a person caught without being able to eat dinner. And it can happen just like that. We saw how quick it happened a few years ago. And everybody's talking about it. The WEF, the WHO, they're talking about it in Davos. What happens if a catastrophe globe-wide happens once again? What's the game plan? What are they going to do? How are they going to implement things? And this is not fear. This is just things that we need to talk about, because we are a community. Especially if you are listening to me or you are on my channels, my YouTube channel, my Rumble channel, you are a person who wants to be a solution to the problem. You don't want to be the problem. I don't want to be a problem. I don't want other people's problems being my problem. And I want solutions to problems before they happen. And it is an amazing capability if you are able to pivot and turn on a dime. So I think that, like I said before, we should just keep up with our 5-can challenge, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, and keep struggling through it, keep going through it, keep letting people make fun of you. It doesn't matter, because we've got something going on in level 2 biolabs that could escape, and that really are not good for humanity. So that's where we're at with the coverage on the DX. I just wanted everybody to know. And Google it. You don't have to take my word for anything. Like I said, it was just the Cliff Notes. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, carpe diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.